The little boy found a super rare hidden skill that let him see the world from behind his own reflection. He could easily turn his boring tricks into amazing feats with this magic. He was surprised by how his vine control skill worked. Instead of just hurting targets, it turned them into living thorns that threw confetti, causing chaos and confusion right in front of him. Before he turned back into a boy, our main character had been a true legend all along. After countless battles that left him scarred and exhausted, the hero faces his greatest wound yet: betrayal from his closest friend, Louis. The strange magic that appears in the ancient dungeons has turned everything into a new kind of class system for adventurers to join. Louis decided to burn down their friends' rooms during a party so he could crush the threat of surpassing SSS rank and make sure the royal family stays in control of the kingdom's future. He smiled, knowing that the gun was already pointed at his head with a deadly intent. To our surprise, when Yun dies, his hidden skill, Mirror World, suddenly activates and transfers his soul into a mirror world floating deep inside the lake. A century ago, a gang of bullies swung a boy overboard, slamming him into cold water as he fell. Your desperate shouts of rescue echoed deep inside that trembling boy's mind as if he were standing right outside your face, shaking him awake with a sudden, loud cry that sends a shiver through his bones. The boy wearing glasses steps forward to help, but the group of bullies laughs at him while mocking his friend in a way that makes everyone feel unfairly blamed for everything wrong. A sudden dungeon appeared, and everyone scrambled for cover in terror. As the nervous kid sprinted over, he frantically pulled a string from the victim's neck to free them before they were too late. The shadows grow dark as the dungeon monsters swarm around him. Suddenly, the quiet water wakes up with a shiver, and the drowned victim leaps into action. He unleashes a powerful burst of ice at the attackers before the system stops him from healing anyone who is already full of HP. The bespectated boy feels so angry he's throwing his best friend into a real monster's body. The brave knight stands paralyzed, clutching the golden shield as a sudden shift sends him flying into the swirling void of Yun, his life force draining out of him instantly in a blur of chaotic energy. He remembered that time he was the greatest warrior in history before he died, when the world of mirrors turned around him, forcing his soul to wander through a strange, shadowy place. As the screams of the drowned man finally broke free from the water, he woke up completely changed into a new shape that seemed alive and ready to fight back. Driven by a desperate need for revenge, our hero decides to seize that final opportunity. The shy nerd drops his pencil and runs to the cool guy who looks like he's lost in thought when suddenly he doesn't know how to fix anything on the table. Everyone treated the old man like an empty shell while he tried to explain his own story. Despite all the doubts, Yin finally pins his hope firmly onto the mirror world skill. He wanted to try and turn on that thing, but the computer told him nothing was allowed yet. The goblins were scared because their magic was weak, and he tried to use it badly. He then tried his magic trick on the goblin's gun, yet he still received the exact same bad result. Suddenly, a massive overlord with broken armor appeared out of the dark, while thousands of frightened creatures rushed to its side as he roared in his rage. The boy with glasses feels trapped in his own fear, while our boy keeps trying to learn how to use that very mirror world skills. At last, Yin decides to try using that strange power for something clever, and with a bit of luck, he manages to turn the tangled vines into sharp spikes so that the monsters scramble instead of fighting one another. Amid a sea of chaos, a clumsy overlord fell into the hands of yet another monstrous beast and was brought to life. So, when the guy finally figured out how to reverse his usual bad habit, he found himself suddenly mastering a superpower. Yin breathed a huge sigh of relief and looked toward the horizon, ready to channel that new energy into all the changes coming up next week. Yuna was utterly stunned as she saw the Mirror World SS rank hidden skill at her very core. It doesn't work just by flipping a switch. It truly boosts your overall skill level. And then the boy notices how, when he tries to use this little trick again, his brain immediately stops working, leaving him with nothing but a single, broken heartbeat before the room goes silent. He jumps up and wants to see exactly how his powers work after they flip upside down. He swings with an extra punch, so strong it turns his weapon into a hidden dagger, giving him a big advantage on the fight. In this magical realm called Mirror World, our brave hero learns that every single move he makes has a hidden boost to its strength. The monsters are still struggling to get out of their confusion as they fight one another, but that struggle gives him a big boost of experience points, so fast he level up right away. Every time he reaches a new level, his magic meter gets completely full and gives him plenty of chances to try out cool spells. He grinned as he tried his best to trick the bewildered monsters into thinking they were his own kind, using all their skills in the chaos to see if they could take over. He keeps stacking the Mirror World Trick Blade on him as his mana depletes, only for it to finally explode into a 120% attack boost that holds him alive until daybreak. As the sky turned purple, a massive monster charged down and met Yun directly, knocking him off the cliff before striking him hard with its powerful attack. A mere chanter fought through a wall of monsters effortlessly while the nerdy boy stood frozen in silence beside him. Yin punches with a thunderous roar, and the steel strikes feel like they're already crushing the air. Suddenly, the dungeon boss pops up right out of the dirt, standing tall at 21, while our brave hero keeps fighting him with wild thorns. The terrifying beast showed off its mighty paws when the evil master tried to test his defenses. In a moment of pure courage, the shy kid walked over and took the stage in his own way. Yin suddenly remembers a dear old friend he knew back in high school. But now that war has taken over, his beloved shield seems to be losing its grip, and he's sending himself flying. You know what? That kid didn't just run. He charged in with a loud yelp, yelling about healing while hopping up and down like a frantic little man. He's not just rushing to save him. He's actually screaming at the nerdy guy to grab that health potion before they get too late. We set up a fast move plan and told Xiao Ji to stay put while we get ready. Yin rushes into the arena to finish off a battle, saving Trickblade one last time before he's gone. He turns back into a fresh version of Trickblade, keeping on raging through the dungeon as he slowly gains strength until he is finally ready to meet the boss. At the very top of the ladder, Trickblade suddenly bursts with a power so strong that he gains over 5,000 times his usual strength. Yun threw his magic into every corner of the dungeon and knocked out the boss in one final sweep. Xiao couldn't help but stare up in shock as a chartered boss fell from a sky-high tower and wiped off the floor of the dungeon. Yuni grabs the fallen loot, while Xiao Ji stares blankly at him as he realizes why such a power surge was so fast. Our brave hero asks if he's connected to the mysterious guy named Xiao Ben, and suddenly his heart jumps. Qiuqi gasped as he realized how much Yuna knew about her great-great-grandfather's name. Yuna's surprise grows as she discovers that Xiao isn't her own child, but a distant relative from her grandfather Ben. He remembered, but someone else was already gone before anyone could tell them that the villain himself had been defeated by them. The protagonist pushes harder just to get the details, yet Zio Ai's frustration builds until she completely shuts down all conversation because Yin keeps giving up on what she wants. Qiao suddenly stirs up a quiet debate about why the hero kept hiding his magic for so long, then immediately pivots back toward normal life by suggesting a quick trip home before he even finishes talking about that mysterious encounter at the memorial hall. He felt a knot in his stomach when he heard that someone was watching from behind the wall, so he whispered the name back and kept his face hidden just as the bell rang. His final goodbye felt like a perfect chance to see what happened before he went home in another life. Yun rides the train and sees strange monsters made of dungeon stuff in his pocket. Hearing about so many deadly things from the dungeon suddenly making sense for his daily routine, he looked back at them with a deep smile that felt like a new beginning. He was so curious that he pulled out a Chimera's bone ring from his pack and remembered how those weird leftover dungeon items used to disappear together with their whole dungeon right before they vanished away. It makes it clear something has definitely changed. In the grand hall where clouds gather over ancient ruins, Yin steps directly into the shadowy space before a colossal stone figure, one whose name was once an immortal legend long after he finally slumped and died in that dark place. Louis and his loyal ally Luha marched to battle in the darkening twilight of history when dozens of deadly dungeons emerged at once. One, in particular, held the terrifying SSS rank that threatened civilian life daily, leaving Lu and Luha to face it together as their heroines. Our brave soldier stands frozen in shock as he remembers how his entire army helped clear a difficult SSS dungeon. But now he feels like an enemy whose story has been erased from history forever. Meanwhile, a teacher shares the painful truth that despite Luoi's bravery, Dai Kuan was too old to stop her rebellion. But Yuna doesn't know who Ding Kuan is at all. As soon as this story begins, the tough leader named Ding Shu steps forward in surprise, instantly recognizing that his two friends are still there. His friend said he's sure an expert was right at hand clearing that dangerous dungeon. Students gathered closely by Ding Shu's side, fully eager to discover and master the secret of that ancient dungeon. Ding Shu angrily accuses Chaoju of being the one who pulled them into a mess of trouble. Chao gets angry when he sees Ding Shu look at the statue of Benbin, and instead of helping, Ding Shu pulls him into his own shadow just to make sure the old man is completely out of luck. Suddenly, Ding Shu snaps and scolds Xiao for insulting his great-uncle, as classmates begin to whisper about the traitor's end. A shy little boy stepped up to a stern teacher who was telling him to apologize for what he had done. The teacher reminded the child that his heroic mother had actually helped her family when they were in danger, showing how much love and courage it takes to save someone from harm. The silence in the room tells everyone exactly how unwilling anyone has been for their family member to step up against the traitor. Ding Shu was already on the edge of escalating a dangerous conflict when a protagonist stepped into his way and slammed Ding Shu against the ground, saving Chao Zhe from what could have just turned deadly. The crowd erupted as students whispered in shock at how Ding Shu had casually knocked out a level 5 chanter and mocked the hero's entire family, instantly sparking anger that made Ding Shu call Yin a punching bag before rallying his group against him. We know exactly how our son fights everyone in the room by hitting them all hard and fast, even when he tries to stop him at Ding Shu. That result leaves the hero completely baffled by such a simple victory. As the other kids begin another round of gossiping, they're all convinced now that Ding Shu has to be weak. Furious, Ding Shu unleashes an intense rage that sparks the forge beneath him, summoning a fiery hammer to strike down the threat instantly. Our hero grabbed his friend by the collar, slammed him onto the ground with one sharp, decisive blow, and now they're both sitting there, still staring at this moment in time. As the guard stepped into the hall and made eye contact with everyone, the room fell silent because they all knew now that violence is a dead rule. The teacher looked furious as he shouted, "You're so damn reckless," and immediately grabbed a heavy club from the bench, ready to crush his pride back down. Calmly, Yin uses his Chimera Bone Ring to break the weapon and immediately challenges the teacher to be fair, hinting that he's on Ding Shu's side. Displaying the power of his ring, our hero forces the teacher to agree to investigate the incident properly. Internally, Yin notes that the ring is just a drop from a level 21 lord, yet it's powerful enough to take on a level 32 teacher. So the teacher lets out an excuse that frees up both Yin and Xiaoai before heading back to the memorial hall. Inside, he immediately summons a healer to care for Ding Shu. The wind blew hard outside as our brave hero struggled to hold on when his very own heart gave out. Soon, everyone he loved turned into dust because the enemy, Ding Kun, had finally taken over. Chaoji started by asking Curiosity how to tell the tale of the hero, named Dingun. Chao told Dingun to find out who the real thief was behind Yun's move and then march his troops toward the SSS dungeon, so he could stop it all. It felt like a trap had been sprung inside the dark dungeon, where our hero truly thought he would have wiped out everyone before he even saw what was happening. Chao keeps smiling as he tells the story about Ding Kun, a brave warrior who rose high in the court after the Great Cataclysm and has spent decades dedicated to safeguarding humanity against such terrible events. Our hero suddenly remembers he didn't fight Dingun. Instead, he solved the crisis himself, and he keeps digging into Dingun's secret armory just to see what that guy might have hidden. Tiawa shares a secret with him. He knows that the Flowing Cloud Sword has been forged by Dingun and is supposed to be used by Yun to kill anyone who crosses his path. The news sent a wild jolt through the room that made Yun's heart skip a beat. So intense he almost forgot how to breathe. He didn't just steal his dad's wins. Instead, his own blade was handed over, as if it were his own, turning into a symbol of a new family legend. Now, armed with that newfound fire and determination, he vowed to make Dingun fall, just like the day he finally got his own sword back. The Ding family compounds were quiet, with its walls high enough for anything small to sneak past. Yet, when a guard saw Yun and Xiao Ji walking near it, he didn't stop and just turned the corner to keep everyone else safe. Xiao hesitated and whispered softly, realizing that turning back would invite more guards to enter the room. However, the hero remembers that Dingun spends almost all his money and effort trapped in an underground dungeon. The new dungeon world doesn't let anyone walk in or out of anything by themselves. You have to get a special badge before even stepping foot inside. It turns out that for our brave hero to get that special ticket, the Ding family has to give him exactly what he needs. The door to the dark, heavy security room opens and a shadowy figure steps inside, while the man with the sharp eyes points out that the Ding family keeps their secrets in private dungeons right at their home. These days, powerful individuals can buy and sell low-level dungeons, a thing only the privileged manage. Chao notes that Ding Shu levels up quickly by grinding monsters in the family dungeon, while ordinary students get experience only from school dungeons. The implication is clear. The richer and more powerful someone becomes, the higher their level will be. Many high schoolers graduate with very little to do, often losing their way through the dungeon system entirely. It's not about talent. It's about the environment. Only people who work in dungeon-related roles can actually hit that low 30s by their mid-20s. The Ding family's guards stay close at a 30-level mark, but once they cross that threshold, they jump straight into service as soldiers or leaders in their own right. Our kid weighed the choices before knowing if he'd ever actually make it past that scary entrance to the dungeons again. Ding Kun and Louis are still chasing Xiao, so he keeps urging caution and suggesting to leave. Yet his mind is racing over what he wants to do next. He notices that the guards can't really see every part of this mansion, and most are bored with it. He decides this is his chance, so he vaults over the wall and wonders how easy it is to slip past such security. Xiaoja hesitates, but our boy pulls him aside, asking if he truly wants to change his life. Chao admitted the trickery, but decided to play the game by joining a guild instead of running away. Yuna refuses to wait forever and leaves Xiaoji alone to decide her own fate. The air grew heavy after the brief silence before Chaoji took a deep breath to catch his footing, then slowly stepped forward, ready for what came next. Our hero spots a chance, so he leaps onto Chaoji right away while they jump straight into the mansion together. The Ding family members finally made their way into that very secret place where all other worlds end. Inside, they stumble upon creatures that leap between levels of 6 and 8. Even though this dungeon is actually much harder to fight, there are simply too few monsters to worry about. The mighty hero pulls out a stick and strikes a powerful blow at the monster's very face. Chao hesitates, but keeps raising his shield even when the monster army is right behind him. He stumbled a bit on the way out, but managed to push himself forward, and his friend cheered him on as he learned how to stand firm against the challenge. Chao finally pulled his courage back and charged, but the boss simply vanished into thin air before he could hit him again. Xiaoi was shining with talent, so our hero watched her proudly while the sun warmed up. His biggest trouble isn't anger, it's being timid, so he tends to get caught up in a defensive scramble and freak out when things go wrong. Chao knew exactly where he was standing so well, which meant he barely suffered any harm at all. Whenever Chao feels like he's drowning with worries, Yuni steps over into the water to catch the scary beasts. Chaoji stands frozen in shock after the brutal battle, and the heavy silence breaks into a quiet realization as he sees himself far more powerful than anyone else could ever hope for. The hero tells us how every point in the game rewards his hard work by sharing his contributions with everyone else. If Chaoji lets the monsters go, he'll get nothing but a bad reputation for trying to stop evil, no matter how good Yun is at fighting them. Kayajaja tells us to give our tribute points equally, yet his friend warns us that we should always prioritize agility over other things. Xiaoi ratchets his power with a steady hand, moving his shields as if trying to squeeze through the crowd while the other kids stare in awe, hoping to sneak past the slow-moving shield bearers who are always being left behind for the monsters to feast on. The hero tells us how to boost our character's stats so he can get into higher levels and earn better rewards. So if a character's Bastion Fortress costs 60 stamina to build and needs 90 defense, no matter how you shuffle the numbers around, it can't be built without running out of energy first. Chao worries he won't even get to level 60, yet Yin urges him to push far beyond the current record of strength. The hero felt a sudden surge of strength as he realized his support team had finally come back, thanks to the very magic that made them powerful again. Suddenly, he finds out his own mirror magic could get stronger too, opening doors to a whole new world of adventure. Yino keeps pounding through every monster inside the dungeon. When he swings to hit another target, the time it takes to swing vanishes. Despite a tough fight ahead, he finally secured a clean victory over his enemies. A tired sigh escapes him as he watches his son's new life struggle against the relentless pressure of countless battles. Even though it didn't make much difference, he boosted his skill in the mirror world by leveling up to 17 and grabbing a lot of new attributes and experience points. The detective team's faces are flashing red as they sprint toward the wrong side of the room, but our hero leaps onto a high ledge just in time to keep himself from being spotted by anyone else who might be watching nearby. Chao tells them to leave because not even the strongest monsters can stop them anymore. Our hero realized that managing Trickblad's power during every guard clash was becoming a nightmare of constant calculation. He also realized not every reversed move actually works in real fights. Right now, he's still stuck at 30% on his mirror world experience, but he's really curious about what that new, second-level skill could actually do. Yin decides to leave the dangerous dungeon behind so he can get closer to the boss, and as the guards keep showing up for checks, he keeps pushing forward deeper into that dark room. Finally, they found themselves trapped in the dungeon's dungeon by a chain and control. Chao found himself staring at a dungeon lord who was so completely caught that he didn't dare even look at him. Our little boy quickly grabbed his tools and got away from all those soldiers before anyone else could notice. The guard isn't really talking. He's just giving a big nod and letting the other guy walk away in silence. The guard pulls back his coat and points out that a large pile of paper slips lies scattered on the dusty floor of the old master's study room. The old master had already left with all these passes, and the man who insists he is sharing the story to tell the truth has no choice but to reveal that his journey began long before he even saw them. It feels like walking into a locked door without any help, because getting past security is really hard when there's nothing to show for yourself. Yuna slammed his hands against the door frame as if to kick out a bad idea, guaranteeing that nothing would slip through her fingers. One sunny afternoon, a guard tells the story of the Ding family and how their endless greed means they have gathered everything possible into a pile, leaving just normal stuff behind. Our hero successfully grabbed a new skill from the guard skill book. They head straight onto that dusty corner of the inner residence, knowing that no one else there, except Ding Shu, is big enough to need any kind of guard protection because they're all above a 35. The families they must protect stay inside their own little home, and that's exactly where the leader, standing tall at level 42, finds himself right now. Two heads of power, sitting near the top of a huge mountain range, are gone for work, leaving behind an empty spot where they once stood together. Oh no! The guard nearly falls asleep while we chase down that tough family member alone and hide in the dark dungeons, ready to snap them out of it. He walked toward the chained dungeon lord, and when his eyes met the one with high-low chains, he understood that the heavy iron was keeping the dungeon steady, so he could see clearly through it. Our brave hero spotted an isolated guard and took down his machine so quickly he got those 600 combat rings. The dungeon lord, once free from his grip and now rising to power, sees that chaos is about to burst out of nowhere. Meanwhile, out in the open, the Ding family's leader began dispatching his guards to enter the dungeon. Our boy stands tall and confident as he steps into his new home, ready for whatever adventure lies ahead. Ding Hao steps out his car as Ding Shu walks beside him at the entrance of the Ding family compound. He stepped forward on the next car and gently slid the door open to let Yin Sha and her assistant in with a warm, official greeting. Dingo doesn't wait to see what's happening. He swings out from behind the guard and throws him right in the face, then walks over to pull the crowd inside the inner palace. From afar, Chao watches the scene unfold and then looks around with wide eyes. Suddenly, Yuna steps in and reveals a terrifying secret about the dungeon boss. He's at level 30 with a plan that will cause chaos if you try to catch him alive. She also advises Xiaoju to distract the family so they can handle whatever comes next, knowing that keeping them busy is key. Chao pointed out that the guy who was kicked out by the guard was actually his uncle. Your little brother finally learned a hard lesson. Your parents were so devastated they didn't even give him another chance to live. Contrastingly, the Chao family suffered through decades of shame, which made the bullying on them worse under Dingen's command. In time, the Chao family fell into a state of virtual slavery to the Ding family, forced to read their emotions and grit as they struggled for survival. The Shao family fought back against their own past sins, yet their son collapsed mentally while his father watched him vanish in a shadow as his uncle merely bowed like a servant to the Dings. Even though the danger feels too big, we decided to make a bold move and jump straight into that dangerous place inside the house. Chao stood up and shouted, shouting to remind him that Dinghu's dad was already here. Yuna stands her ground firmly, telling anyone afraid to take risks or get tangled in the complexity of life that they won't make it further ahead. Chao Yuri knew a secret to save his future, so he told the man, if I really want to change my destiny, I've got to act. The quiet room felt heavy, and Xiaoi paused, staring at the door that stood like an impenetrable wall to her family's influence. But our hero shouts out that he will fight the whole empire alone, even when he must. He leaped straight into the inner palace without a word. Inside, the second head hears a shocking announcement. The dungeon lord has lost his cool and turned into a monster. Ding Hao assures Yin Sha that he'll fix the problem before it gets worse, so she doesn't have to worry about being late for the next day. He also says the old master and his third cousin walk over to meet her, so does his amazing great-grandfather who loves to be there too. On the sunny terrace, our young boy is curious to see if that mighty man in armor is actually the famous hero Ding Cohen. He looks at Yin Sha and wonders what she really knows about her own name. He slipped into the dark study looking for a pass, though he turned up nothing but a few high-quality skill books. Among those who gained this special power, one guy suddenly slowed down his aura so fast that enemies moved twice as slowly. Outside, Chao watches as guards surround the inner residence, her heart racing for her hero to stay safe. He feels the urge to flee, yet he can't shake away the heavy pain that still clings to his family's home. Chaoju jumped and shouted, "Get out!" to wake up the guard and make a quick escape for the hero. Yuna ducks off as she spots Tiao's new courage, but the boy already yells his way through, declaring that he has finally got all those keys and skills. He takes a deep breath and suddenly pulls back the curtain of the mirror world, letting his slow, fading energy burst into a roaring blast of speed. Dingy raced forward and shouted, "Look, we're right there in the dark, while his guard instantly sprinted after him to keep up with the chase. Determinedly, Yuna aimed her reflection at the ancient dungeon boss, ready to push him over the edge and level his own powers high. Luckily, the Lord was down right now after a tough battle with Ding Yi, which gave our hero a chance to hit hard on his own. Ding Hao gently calms Yun Sha as he hears the noise outside the inner residence, while Dingy rushes forward into the dark dungeon with a quick order for all the guards and rogues to get in front of him. Yuno isn't just dodging. He's using his speed to make those two skilled guys lose their footing in a single shot. Soon our boy finds himself facing the grim dungeon lord, who is already broken and sealed shut up. He sees an opening and keeps going fast, ready to strike down the weak enemy in one swift shot. The guard team pulls back as the protagonist thrusts a swarm of living thorns at them, sending everyone scrambling into a frenzy of mutual alarm and panic. He slipped through the crowd effortlessly, watching as they didn't even know what kind of fight was coming up. A fierce fight erupts between the guards and our hero. Ding Yi keeps marching forward until he finally makes it. Ding Yi steps into the fray clad in heavy steel armor and ready to strike with an iron axe, a fierce charge that shakes everything around him. Calmly, Yin activates the high chain to summon a powerful force, though his current stats are just beginning to show up and he's still at level 60. The heavy chains clink softly against the floor as he pulls away from the anchor, ready to break the seal once more. The brave hero swings across many dangerous paths to crush the boss. So high was his power that he finally made it past level 20 of his mirrored realm. Ding Yi's guard troops swarm around to catch up to the man, but instead of getting caught, he slips right into the mirror itself and disappears into that strange realm before anyone else can see him go away. Yuna stared at the mirror and saw her half hour to act out his entire journey before she could even reach him. When he grabs his reflection, he finds out exactly where to land in reality again. Now that your mirror skills are finally strong as level 2, the brave boy sees he could pull out any secret or trick from here and get it all back just like that. He pauses at his screen and looks over a fresh list of abilities that have been turned upside down for him today. He pauses and looks down at the wall where his base skills are still locked up, realizing he can't turn on them right now. Planning ahead, our protagonist decided to pick up some powerful skills so he could easily master new abilities and improve his class progress. Suddenly, he noticed ghosts drifting in the sky, and those tiny, soul-possessing beings began to grow before him. He didn't hesitate at all, so his hero sliced off a piece of the undead creature and then told himself to go back home, where he could build a contract with its new life. He thought, now that I've gotten rid of this monster, it's like a mirror shard. Just as long as I keep going and get stronger, I can bring it into reality. He smiles while waiting for the real world to return after the dungeon vanished. The guard duo sits silently at their posts, staring intently toward the distant figure of Yun as they doubt whether he has actually deployed his cunning rogue stealth tactics. Ding Yi felt a heavy heart as he watched his crew try to hide from an approaching enemy, then scolded them firmly for leaving the fight too early. Oh my god, the mirror timer finally ran dry, and suddenly we were back in that spot, right where we started to find a new enemy. The loud ding shouted his guards over to catch the man, and instantly he pulled up a legion of undead beasts to fight back. Even though everybody freaks out at the news, only 210 people in the room know there's a guard who knows how to fight the undead and what they're up to. Dingy handed the order for catching him, yet Yun had long since vanished from the room. He stood on the edge of a forest clearing and watched a group of dark, undead workers gather around him. Despite the monsters appearing strangely weak today, he was so excited about how they had found way stronger ones that he felt like the world had finally won a good battle. Now I finally learned that the mirror world only allows me to explore 200 meters in, so I have to keep moving back and forth until I hit the edge of my own room. He was determined to use his magic to travel through mirrors across all possible worlds, starting with a few random spots ahead. Just then, he noticed someone holding the younger one as his guard was watching him closely. Yin moves so quickly that he almost misses grabbing Chao, but his speed makes him appear to take down the guard right away. As the world settles down, our brave hero steps out of the chaos and rushes back inside, ready to make sure his wins count and figure out where he's going next. The Ding family's fierce guards are still fighting hard against the strange monsters rising from the ground. And as long as the Ding monsters keep fighting back, Ding will soon find himself at their mercy, effortlessly wiping away every single undead soul. He tells his friends the summoners are draining energy until they vanish after only a couple of hits. Meanwhile, inside the inner residence, Ding Hao bowed deeply as an apology for the intruder's escape from his window. The old master roared in fury, screaming loudly that he knew exactly who those strange visitors were before anyone else did. Ding Hao nudged the floor with his foot to to make Yun Sha feel more relaxed before he decided to go into the dungeon. However, he tells him to find out who the thieves are and make sure nothing was taken before the guard comes in. Elsewhere, Yuna feels proud to see his new skill card and only waits for that brave stranger to help him finally enter the scary dungeon. Ding Shu's house was still cold after the storm, and our boy had finally climbed to level 20, even though his Chimera Bone ring was nearly broken. He finally collected 10 magic spellbooks and a powerful battle chant that turns his own shield song back into something even stronger. He plans to build up his strength by stacking up these abilities so he can beat anyone else who has the same power level. The dungeon boss dropped a cursed item that finally gave him his own shield, so now he has both the Dark Knight's gear and the dungeon loot. Now that the mirror world reaches a dangerous second level, the monsters your heroes can summon have suddenly become incredibly tough to defeat. But alas, this is all not quite enough for us. If you're desperate to climb the ranks, maybe you'll need to sign up for a deal with a beast that can't be easily killed, just in case someone named Hero Dinkuin shows up at your door. Yino gently told Chao they couldn't see anyone in the Ding family before this, which means there's very little chance they'll be caught by anyone. He then asks if someone in a dangerous place knows a dead powerful man is hiding somewhere deep underground. The school dungeon was hiding in plain sight, so Chao hesitated before admitting it fit the description, even though it wasn't really easy to sneak inside. Our brave hero tells him, "I have my own ways." Later, at his school teacher's private residence, our boy decided to bribe the teacher by handing over 2 skill books that he had stolen from him himself. It's a strange feeling when the teacher tells him he can't do anything, because the dungeon itself is suddenly welcoming and ready for new people like you. You can sign up for a class project once your teacher recommends you. The brave hero waits by the door after a lesson from his teacher and then steps into the dark hall, where he finally finds his way home. Other students gather eagerly to plan their next big leveling up adventure. Yin leans in and feels a knot tighten in his throat as he sees the strange light flickering on the corner of the room. He learned hard that the brave dungeon held a secret treasure for the heroes at the academy. It was a tense moment when Xiao realized he had found the place where the brave warrior, Zhao Yuan, had slain the cowardly villain named Xiaoan. The school teacher warned the dungeon was getting tough and assigned a new student C to help protect them. The cat grumbles slightly while secretly obeying his friends to keep them safe on the back of the couch. Despite all those busy preparations, our hero can't shake the terrifying feeling he's having now in this endless level 2040 dungeon. Z ran straight into the darkness of the dungeon and saw Yun Sha right away, along with Yun Yin standing next to him. He pointed out that the students were all in the same class, then suddenly noticed Yun and Xiao Ji doing even worse. Boasting that Z feels much more energized with the girls, he insists that Yun Sha and Yun Yin should remain close to him. A teammate pointed out to the guy that those guys were way too high for his club, but then a couple of friends came running up to him in surprise. The sudden look of recognition at the door made him realize Yun Sha was back, so he asked, "Why did you come?" Yun Sha smiled as he pointed out her voice while standing near the memorial hall, then leaned closer to whisper that she'd seen him there earlier at the Ding's home. She didn't even look at him. Instead, the whole room went silent as he caught her surprising way of recognizing him after only 2 words. Yun Sha and Yun Yin step into the new world after their machines were swapped out. That moment when our hero thinks his voice was heard by Ding Shu the day before feels like a real breakthrough for him. We're trying hard to get back the credit for protecting Yun Yin and Yun Sha from getting caught when they try to sneak into the dungeon, so we tell them to stay away because the place is just too scary. Yun Sha smiled warmly and told her friend that her worry was completely off the charts. Zay's group gasps as they rush in after seeing that group of people, then quickly grabs hold of Yun, ready to ask her out to a drink or talk about whatever she wants to do next. Z and his friend were shouting that Yun and Chao couldn't be apart by themselves. Z tries desperately to hide his own embarrassment while pretending to have met up with Yun Sha. The only reason he can't pretend to be low level is that he genuinely cares about being able to talk to him. The coach tells his team their main task is gathering those special crystals while telling them not to worry about the boring ones, because every single person has a distress flare waiting for them. Secretly, Z hopes to make our protagonist get himself killed for being overconfident, while Ding Shu races toward the dungeon entrance and questions the teacher about the team that just entered. He remembers how his elders dismissed his concerns when he told them it was Yun and Xiao Ju who broke into the compound. His dad didn't think Ding Shu was mad at all. Instead, he was convinced his family could never leave because there were too many soldiers watching them. The third head threw his hands up in exasperation because the old master had already taken Ding Shu off his case without a single word of explanation. Ding Shu feels desperate and reaches out desperately for his teacher, clutching onto them as he insists on getting in there. Yuna was rushing to stop the monster from hitting her when the beast launched a mighty strike at her. Chaoju's quick thinking made him summon a sturdy shield over his son, then cheerfully shouted cheers that boosted his power. Thanks for that great help, and I think we did a great job defeating that scary monster. So he climbed all the way to 21 while his rival only got past 11. Chao's newest fighting moves came straight from a book written by his very own family, which made him become a powerful friend no matter what type of tough battle he faces. The hero gets closer as the sky darkens. If that monster called the Obsidian Beast can finally be defeated, they might grab a special ability, gravity itself. He wants to go back to the battlefield where a mighty hero once got hurt and took a hard lesson. As the sun dipped low and the first stars began to twinkle over Crystal Pillar Canyon, the team finally reached that legendary destination, where the sky was filled with glowing, shining beasts made entirely of pure radiant light. Yuna watched the demons drift across the land for at least 1 mile, and they were all moving on their own. Unlike regular monsters, these wild beasts wander around all the time and are actually much stronger than anyone else in the world. The hero remembers how terrifying those early monsters were. They could almost make him feel like he was going to die, forcing him to climb out of deadly dungeons where the world turned into a nightmare for all people. Defeating these enemies gives you extra XP and awesome loot compared to normal guys. Yin picks up a giant stone beast and immediately tests its raw strength before anyone else can see the power in the sky. You see, the moment he found out, his body seemed ready to fix itself forever. When the monsters attack, Zaioi can't rely on her shield anymore. His little boy is in a serious situation, and even running around won't let him get away from the danger. Chaoji stepped onto the battlefield not alone, but instead as part of a desperate, forced retreat where he needed the extra firepower from his undead army to survive against Chaoji's powerful defense boost. The brave boy saw many students hiding away with shields and protectors ready to save them from danger. Chaoji spent hours digging through the dusty floor of Ding's dungeon to find hidden gems, then spent every point he earned on building up an incredibly strong shield that was ready to take down any beast. The coach guides Yuna to throw her shield forward as a hard blow toward the coming strikes. Chaoju still stood as the ground crumbled under his weight, leaving behind a gaping hole where a shadowed beast had crashed into something hard like glass. Our hero rushes over to clear away the beast before he can even warn Chaoju about a strike coming. The coach gently nudged his friend, whispering that he should watch out for anyone who's following closely behind them. They fought hard and successfully smashed down all those scary monsters while working side by side. Yin and Chao are racing hard. Yin climbs higher by 1 level at a time until he reaches 22, while Chao slowly climbs until he hits 15. Then, the moment Chaoji finds out about a new skill in the book, specifically armor that gives him an extra layer of protection, he learns it and begins to protect himself from the wind. That little boy trusts his team now that he can finally face all those scary monsters by himself. A team of teachers watches as Highlanders wander away in terror from the shadows above. Teachers often wait while students send distress signals because they're afraid to see the strange kinds coming in the halls. A shy teacher decides to join in with a little girl who is trying to help them track down stray cats because they both love to play together. The teacher thinks that maybe this distress signal could mean trouble from those weird creatures, but even just 2 teachers aren't big enough to save him. The brave teachers step forward with a bright smile, knowing they could protect the kids from scary monsters without worrying about getting hurt by them. And now the real hero knows his own power. They'll certainly stop all those beasts before he can reach them. Yuna steps up to the scary monster, while Zaioi stands firmly in the back, ready to help. His eyes locked onto a gaping hole in the wall, and he grabbed his axe at once. Even though he won, he can't help noticing that he's so close to his old self after all those years. Even though the mirror world boosted his attacks so hard, his support class still didn't get very strong on top of all that. After he dispatched the monster and collected those drops, the hero leveled up and got a crystal that turned into a long sword, which gave him enough power to fix his weak attacks. He wasn't thrilled to see his drop rate so low when he was looking for a skill book just for gravity pulls. A bright blue flash of special grade distress signals sweeps across the sky as a teacher's squad takes flight. The white-haired teacher, Liu Li, finds herself trapped inside her classroom when the scary creatures that roam outside suddenly gather to attack her students. Behind every shield, thousands of students and teachers gather to witness a chaotic scene that never ends. Yinshaw stumbles over his words as he glares at the chaos unfolding before him, wondering exactly why everyone is acting so wildly. The teacher stepped onto the cliff edge and shouted, "Follow this distress signal, and we'll be right here," while the others scrambled toward the dark cavern below. He asked Yinsha for help, but she jumped in fast and helped everyone up with her magic powers. With Yin by her side, She effortlessly slays the elusive wandering monster. As far away as possible, our hero watches with wonder how powerful Yunsha and Yunin are. He turned his gaze toward the dark cavern and said, "Stay behind me, Tiaroji," as he plunged deeper into the shadows, eager to find out what was happening inside. Yin steps into a mirror where he has finally figured out how to travel freely, and for the first time in his life, he no longer has to wait for orders from the Ding family before reaching this place at will. He looked into the dark room and saw everyone reflect themselves, but some terrifying figures were hiding in the shadows where they shouldn't be. He watched the ghostly figure rest at its feet, proving for sure that they were alone here in this world. Venturing into the dark cave led us right to Z and his team, making us wonder if those who had been chasing the wandering creatures must have caused them to gather up here in the woods. He pushed hard into the dark cave, looking for the truth behind the trouble, only to stumble upon an odd discovery that explained exactly how Z and his friends got there in the first place. These rare minerals are unlike those found in the wild. They hold a much higher treasure than anything else out there. The goldsmiths love building the most powerful machines and special treasures, so rare they can't be found anywhere else in the world. Yuna grabbed the shiny mirror crystal and immediately saw his reflection in it, proving that if you could just see yourself again, your journey back home would be easy. Deciding to dive deeper into the mine, our boy spotted something unusual and thought, maybe one day I'll be a millionaire. The world turned into reality as Yun Sha and Yun In pushed through the mist toward the dark cave, storming past all the wandering monsters that had been guarding the door to get them a ride home. As the group finally got to their hands and feet, they shouted a warning, "Stay alive or you're going to die," because they have to keep pounding for as long as it takes to get back out. But before anyone could settle down, all sorts of restless wanderers burst into the room to take their place. In the mirror world, Yin stumbled upon a rare crystal core, a legendary prize that takes ages to create and represents the crystallized soul of every secret item found in the dungeon. Knowing how valuable the treasure truly was, our protagonist quickly gathered all of it with a determined smile. He feels super strong while holding that crystal core because it lets him keep going longer for hours and gets more energy back quickly. What truly hits him hard isn't the big numbers. It's this tiny percentage of power that cuts down damage by 20%. It's rare enough to make anyone wonder if top-tier gear actually holds such magic. That way, this hero gets very careful and thinks they've hit rock bottom when they find a hidden treasure, like finding something valuable from a distant mountain. He pauses on the ledge and realizes he'll only get 10 minutes from his usual walking session before the crystal core consumes him entirely. Meanwhile, right outside the building, a colossal monster swoops down to grab him just as he's about to vanish. Students think the Lord of Wandering Lands is a real, living ghost who keeps chasing them everywhere. It feels like the real boss is hiding deep inside a dungeon. Ah, that strange shadowy figure pulled from the shadows. It's not just a normal dungeon boss. It's an incredibly powerful one far exceeding what even experienced teachers can handle. The students and teachers are locked in a tight hug inside their metal armor, yet fear begins to ripple outward like a storm cloud when the stray attackers swarm the hall. Yinshaw gently nudged everyone along as he pointed out a path that could save them before the canyon got too big to cross. She pulls her shield up to block the incoming blow while she takes charge of the attack, leading the squad toward the monster with their defense ready. Unfortunately, the Wandering Lord unleashed his battle cry and summoned a whole new army of wandering types before them, ready to fight deeper into the dungeon than ever before. The spell gave its minion an extra power boost that made them look like they were going to destroy anything standing between it and you. The monsters got much stronger than usual, so a single teacher was swiftly knocked out during the stormy fight. In a tense battle, Yuna calls out her team for mutual aid as they move together to help each other survive. Suddenly, the classroom door slammed open, and a timid teacher burst out in a hooded coat, trying desperately to hide while screaming for help. The lay guards were instantly pulled back by the roguer's haste, sending a sharp warning that their quickness would soon end before they could reach safety. Sadly, the Wandering Lord then unleashed a huge assault, causing the cloaked teacher to be swiftly killed. The canyon ahead collapses, plunging everyone in despair. As the Wandering Lord prepares another big attack, Yin Sha and Yin In raise their final shield to block it all at once. Together, they manage to block that sudden blow before the shields even started moving. The armor is still there and won't let go of position, forcing them to buy precious seconds instead of fighting back. It seemed like the teacher was trying to explain how a strange lord slipped into a dungeon without warning anyone, while another student tried to blame him for making it happen. Meanwhile, Lei relaxes because he sees the students who volunteered to watch the wandering types are now believed to be secure, But then his eyes spot Xiaoji in the midst of the group, and his mind instantly floods with shock. The shield cracks under the pressure, and Lei barely avoids a blow from the monster approaching him. Little Xiaoji hops forward, calling for a quick shield, so he can keep protecting Lei from the next storm of blows. Suddenly, every shield broke under the weight of the monster's charges, and chaos erupted. As desperation grew into a dire emergency, the lone figure who had been waiting for reinforcements burst through the doors with a blade in hand, plunging the battle to a halt instantly. He warmly praised Xiaoji's courage, while reassuring everyone that he would manage everything safely right now. In a strange world where mirrors can be seen as portals to alternate realities, Yin had finally found the perfect way to boost his power. He realized the crystal core wasn't gone. It was waiting for him in the real world, so he could simply double everything by gathering both versions there. But getting one tiny crystal took 10 minutes for me to walk around the mirror. Our boy was so focused that he lifted a massive piece of iron and made it light enough to fly, letting it help boost his stats right away. Suddenly, a shadowy presence surged across the room and made his heart race uncontrollably as he felt trapped in an unknown threat. He didn't want to keep risking this anymore. So he sprinted back and found that he could actually move through the mirror world by walking around it whenever he needed to. Yin walked out from the dark cave and stepped back into the bright light to see a huge army of wild beasts and an intimidating leader who just wandered around alone. Without any hesitation, our hero sprinted over quickly to grab Xiao and his classmates. He slipped through the glass screen to dodge the monster. As we stood at that thrilling moment, our hero was now a two-tiered powerhouse, holding a full magical charge of 1600 while his speed kept climbing. So even though he kept chasing things everywhere, that wandering lord wasn't going to leave him alone for long. Yun sprinted toward the crowd where he vanished into a mirror, but as soon as his eyes landed on them, he instantly dove to clear away the monsters before they could strike back. He kept running around in the fog, dodging bullets while celebrating his victories as they slipped through the walls of reality. He had to pull up a bunch of buffs from Yin Sha and Xiao Ji so they could stop the tide rolling on, even though the monsters were just keeping coming while the hero held his ground with the crystal core. But as the chaos turned into deadly thorns, the monsters instantly vanished because they didn't know how to fight anymore. As everyone looked over the school grounds with stunned faces, Yin showed off a superhuman feat that made every single person on Earth think they were crazy. He ran through the battlefield and saw how fast monsters were turning into heroes. Each one that fought him added another level of skill to his own hand, proving just how much his power was growing at once. When Yin Sha stumbled upon the very same man he once mocked as a thief, he fell silent, shocked that they were now standing right in his face. He stood frozen in front of a broken mirror while demons chased him through real life, one by one, building an impossible tower that pushes power beyond all limits. Yun's genius caught Lei's attention so hard he couldn't let go of the reassurance, even when he told him it was only a student. The rogue lord swung his weapon with force, but our hero barely missed the impact and escaped to safety before the blow struck him again. The lord's sudden advance slammed into the very last two shields, and they were about to fall over when he passed them. Lei felt a sudden rush of adrenaline as more monsters appeared, forcing him to scream for every student to leap over the barrier just in time, even though many were terrified they would be attacked by those very creatures. Yin stepped out and pointed out a way out of trouble while pretending he was helping the other wanderers get away from danger. Lei held his hand tight while we realized that letting our boy stay near the wandering lord alone was a recipe for chaos. Just like how unchecked fear turns into bigger monsters and brings us closer to the outside world. Yuna felt fierce determination as he decided to destroy the evil lord who had wandered freely. As soon as Yin drew his sword to focus on him, the entire school caught wind of this bold move and rushed out together for safety. Chao feels completely helpless because Lei wants everyone to run away, so his own son can slip away too. As the war continues and Yun's power rises, he strikes the rogue knight with every possible angle of his attack. The hero dives into a magical mirror after his mighty foe strikes back, but when he finally pulls out, they just bounce off again and hit him harder than before. Even as he watched his guard down, suddenly the wandering lord seemed to heal immediately after every single strike. He realized he needed a fresh plan and chose to focus on that hidden gem stuck inside the king's head, making the crystal even more precious for him now. The magic energy from what he had fought before keeps slipping away, so he already knows he won't have enough mana points to keep Trickblade up long after that battle ends. He determined that he needed time to recover and push himself hard to push the game so high that he could actually reach the next goal. The wandering lord begins to watch over himself, tracking where he goes just as he slips through the mirrors like a ghost. Our boy got punched by a giant monster during a huge, continuous attack because he knew his reflection in the mirror was dangerous for him. His time was getting out of hand, and he had no choice but to call on undead creatures instead. Even those monsters are draining his mana, and not enough to save him. Suddenly, the air thickens with a roar as a colossal shield erupts from the ground and vanishes into the darkness. You didn't know she was coming. Xiaoji and Yun rushed over to help him. Yun stands firm and decides to fight back, even though his team keeps urging him away. It was the best fight of his life because they helped him conquer every monster along the way and finally reached level 30. The final chapter arrived when he finally got his amazing gravity book. His dark armor begins to glow as he pulls hard, ripping his own weight into a tight, invisible circle around him, so gravity suddenly becomes a magnet that draws him directly toward the mysterious lord. Yun swings his trick blades with amplified power while Yun uses a gravitational draw to close the gap and targets the lord's head crystal. The wandering lord unleashes another devastating area attack, but manages to shatter it before being completely eliminated. The boy earned 5,000 EXP and claimed the title of Wandering Slayer as his reward. In exchange for his heroics, he received 2 golden skill books, one called Golden Light Barrier and another named Angel's Blessing. The moment our hero hits level 33, the world goes silent because his power triggers Yuna's hidden trap before anyone can even speak. Suddenly, the colossal figure of the Wandering Lord shatters into dust and chaos right behind him, while our boy spots a hollow mountain just beyond the fray. Venturing in, he discovers remnants of old humans alongside wild dogs, and suddenly knows his own path must lead him back home before another beast can take him down. He stumbled upon a body that turned out to be Binbin, the legendary man whose name he had never heard before. Yin Sha walked up to the solemn room and said, "This isn't a big hero statue. This whole thing looks like a completely different kind of monster." They look back at this scene and realize how many fights have been fought between monsters and people to get here. The sudden storm of chaos knocks in, and he tells the story with a smile, so big it feels like magic. He shared that he spent years digging for clues about Chowen's past, but most of the stuff he found was just foggy and unclear. Despite the news, he learned his great-uncle always found himself trapped in dungeons even higher than him, such as the one this specific castle belongs to, where wandering lords live. When Xiaoji spoke about how often powerful people had to save dangerous places, he explained back in the day that generals didn't have enough guns or men to fight off big threats alone, so they relied on a handful of brave and strong guys to keep everyone safe. No matter how much your family says he's only looking to feel better, Xiaoi keeps digging in deep, never giving up on finding out if the secret is real. And I hear that loud voice again, and the hero give him a gentle pat to say, "I believe you." Yuna remembers that Binbin was a truly good guy who never made a move for harm. He had always been a man who couldn't let go of wanting to become stronger, so he never hesitated to challenge his master or demand assistance when things went wrong. And finally, Binbin fell fighting a horde of monsters that overwhelmed him completely. Filled with resolve, our protagonist silently vowed to strike back at the Ding family because of Binbin. Meanwhile, back at the Ding family estate, Ding Shu tells everyone that students have just returned from the dungeon to sing Yun's praises after conquering the highest difficulty boss in history. The 3 leaders of the Ding clan stepped forward right away, shouting orders to their troops as they marched toward the Chao clan before him. Yuna hands the Golden Light Barrier skill book to Chao Ji and explains that the shield bearer's special ability cannot be learned with this tool. Yin Sha tells us she's got a tough kid in the bag, but even she can't keep up with him. The hero pointed at the man who was disappearing, revealing a strange power where his soul-forged minions suddenly came to life, turning him into an old ghost he had once been. Yuna steps into this strange realm where mirrors might hold other lives, making her wonder how many souls truly live inside the glass before she finds one herself. He sees a ghost in Binbin's chest and asks himself, can we really talk to that spirit? In the real world, Yin Sha remembers that a big event happens today, so her team heads out. The hero stands before a glass wall and waits for a shout from Ben, yet he finds himself completely silent inside the room. Suddenly, the spirit of Binbin erupts in a mighty roar that launches his body into the darkness, instantly sealing off the area with a shadowy wall around him. As he lies face down before the screen in his room, Benkin watches as Ding Kuan finally strikes him with a heavy blow and drops to his knees. The crumbling wall tears through the room as Benkin's mind floods with fight raw, unleashing a devastating assault of pure aggression that shakes the very foundation of the space around him. Seeing that the conversation is truly a dream, he tries to break free, but fails because there's no escape in this place. He couldn't help but prepare to face the terrifying truth of Binbin's soul directly in his eyes as fate turned against him. In that bustling real-world setting, the third boss of the Ding clan, Ding steps out to meet up with his trusted partner, Tiaoji, along with a team of heavy guards on their way. Dingo wants to find out where Yun is while Tiaoji acts cool and nervously wonders if they're just on a practice session. The girl just ignored the bounces, showing she knew who was sneaking right here in the house. Dingshu confirms they hear each other, while Dingo reveals his special gift for Xiao Ji. Meanwhile, Dingo sends a warning that draws all the Chao family members, his mother, great-grandfather, and many others, to stand up immediately. His grandpa snapped at his grandson and yelled for him to stand up and apologize right away. Xiaoi stubbornly refused to let his entire household become like dogs at all times, refusing to accept that the Ding family would treat him and their people exactly as they do. But his uncle dropped down to his knees and shouted, "For those who claim they are heirs to a legendary bad man, being allowed to work as servants is now a wonderful gift." His aunt pushed him toward thinking about his mom's broken heart, telling him she had been lost for years after her husband became mad. But Xiao holds up his hand right then and there, firmly telling everyone to see what happened to his great-grandfather, who was so brave he stood his ground against monsters to save the day. He tears up for his family as they look at conflicting proof against the Ding family's fake story. Xiao thinks that when the truth finally comes out, they won't have to endure any more shame. It was a shocking revelation when he explained that everyone in the Ding household, his own grandfather, his uncle-in-law, and even his second cousin once removed, should have died as a result of this alleged crime. Dinga laughed at the compliment, admitting that even the arrogant Xiaoju had done a terrible job and that his own snarl was nothing compared to what he had accomplished when he rose up against Xiaowen. It mattered not how funny or dramatic it all got. Xiaowen got officially branded as a traitor, so nobody cared whether his dad turned mad or if anyone else died around him. Chao says to Chua, "Everyone here has heard this news before, so now you have to stand down." Chao's mother kneels by the door in a quiet room, weeping as she cries while begging her son to turn his anger against his father, knowing that no amount of tears will heal him further. Xiaoi remembered those words when she was young and decided he shouldn't hear anyone else's advice. Dingshu lets out a long sigh of frustration before he swings wildly, launching Xiaoi into his open chest and slamming him right onto the ground, screaming that he will never learn to kneel again. Dingshu snaps his hammer into a rage and immediately swings it at his father's shield, shouting loudly, so everyone knows he is fighting for the true power of the Chao clan. Dingge is hooked by Tiaoji's thunderous smash and immediately starts chattering about why he can't just be the hero in his own story next time. Dingshu, seeing his old friend turn into such an intimidating strength, freaks out immediately as he chases after him. Yet even this clumsy punch from his former partner stops Chao easily, leaving Dingshu scrambling for cover in frustration. In that mirrored realm, Yin finds himself trapped in a fierce battle against Benben. Benjamin gasps as he sees his own hands shaking because he has witnessed a godlike force at work, leaving behind a terrifying silence in a room where everything else has collapsed. Even when the guy isn't a defensive class and doesn't know how to fight back, our hero still gets knocked down because his own tricks are too useless against him. Benben steps forward as he summons his golden light barrier, and suddenly we know what happens next. In the real world, Dingshu unleashes a fiery mountain smash that rips through everything. Xiao Ji stands firm and blocks the attack while he delivers a series of brutal blows that leave Dingshu reeling on the ground, as Dingshu takes another devastating hit after another. The third family head immediately summons his own massive claw weapon to take matters into his own hands. He finds himself surprisingly shielded by a golden light barrier as Xiaoju steps into the light. Chao grips Dingshu inside that wall and keeps pounding at him while shouting about the Ding family's bad guys. The hero stands in a shattered mirror and screams for the golden light barrier to fall, trying to save his precious world from being swallowed by darkness. The wall holds up like a strong fortress until every single blow lands on it, no matter how many times they hit it, as long as each one is not twice as strong as the wall can take. When the fire runs out of power, you still have enough damage to rip away a dozen people's lives before they can get back up. The grandparent finally found a way to smash through that wall, so everyone could see him. As the dust settled, Chao declared that if his grandpa had been there today, the Ding family would have begged for mercy instead of letting go. Dinga got so angry he threw his best trick at Tiaoji, telling them to drop their defenses, and then unleashed a heavy hammer that broke the earth around Tiaoji, leaving him in deep pain. Dinga runs up to the room, ready to cut off Qiaoju's legs with his own axe, but just as he does, Qiaoju's mother steps forward, begging that she sit on the floor, while Qiaoju accepts all the suffering in return for saving her son. Dinga decides to make a deal with Xiaoi, but fails as quickly as he makes it. He turns his anger on her mother and forces Binbin's ghostly soul upon everyone in Chao, leaving only Yuna watching from the mirror world to explain that this return from hell is meant to settle the scores. The scary shadow of Binbin rises above the crowd as everyone looks down, ready to take his place in that terrifying darkness. The third man from top of the Ding clan ordered his soldiers to bring down that villain instantly. The Ding family rush in, but Binbin steps forward, activating his iron armor, shield gear, magical aura, and collective defense instantly. Instead of being knocked away by their charge, he gets sidestepped by them. Binbin's mighty power knocked out Chaos's father for a moment, but the old man couldn't speak, and Tiaoji watched with pure admiration as his opponent could smash through walls of steel without even flinching. Turning to face Yun, Dingy declares that Binbin is just an undead summon, having already seen our hero's undead army at home. He mocks him for being only level 33 and launches a relentless series of attacks using his semen adhesion skill. Dingy was so angry he let out a big sigh, then slammed down on the wall to break open the heavy door before Binbin could even block him with his gold shield. He raised his hand and shouted a command to shatter the wall of fear. Yet as he turned to his army, he quickly saw that they were busy fighting off the skeletons before he could finish speaking. Furious, he charges his punch at our boy and fails to strike. Stunned, Dingo retracts to Rending Claw, but the main character vanishes again before rising above to deliver a devastating blow, leaving Dingery in serious pain. Bleeding and furious, the third head roars while Yun effortlessly dodges. Binbin swings his sword to give the hero a high platform for an even faster attack. A single crisp blow snaps the neck off the old man, named Dingery, in seconds. Dingery urgently calls out to his priest, but in a moment of panic, he stumbles upon a strange phenomenon where every single soldier around him is already dead and gone, leaving only the undead behind as the final survivors. The hero laughs at the old guard and says, "Look what magic brought to life. The monsters are way tougher than Dingy could fight." The third family leader was so desperate he ran for his life, but the rising blade of Binbin stopped him from fleeing. Yuna slowly revealed that this is a perfect sword-shield arrangement. It was the most dangerous class in history, and nobody from lower grades could ever get out of it. Dingy tried very hard to hide the old S-class bomb with a void bomb before he could get ready for a final attack. The protagonist stood tall and unfazed, ready to lead the way forward. Yuna rushes in to stop Ding from moving while he is still frozen, giving her a firm hand on his shoulder as she forces him to get up immediately. Ding Shu's quiet crying serves as a soft backdrop against Zhao's heart attack moment, so he couldn't help but grin when he saw it. Your character gets up and grabs Dingy by the throat, pointing a weapon straight at his neck in a loud demand for answers. Yino carefully glances at his inventory, only to discover an endless supply of health potions filled with healing magic that can boost a character's life for 10 seconds each time they use them. Yet, as he scans the shelves, he quickly sees that none of these extra potions are enough to fully repair Binbin, who is still terribly hurt from the battle. He quietly thought that Binbin had to give up his life to get back up, so he would rise even higher than ever before. Binbin dropped his final spell, and suddenly his soul appeared right in front of Yun's eyes in a mirror world where everything is real. He smiled as he saw the undead on his side, noting that by killing tough monsters, he could keep growing their army while keeping Ding Shu safe for later adventures. A grandparent of Chao's stood in awe as the protagonist watched him with such wonder that he felt like a child of great power himself. Chao has been challenged because he feels Yunts might have done something to strengthen him himself. And then, Tiaoji's uncle figured out the old hero was actually a much tougher monster than anyone expected. Our boy tried to hide his own growing strength behind the fact that he was destined for Dingen's hand, but his resolve only grew fiercer as the battle became inevitable. Oh no! Suddenly he dives in and realizes that his undead soldiers are now at full power. Okay, so sending those enemies to fight was actually the right choice. They are now nearly unbeatable because of the power boost and their latest gear. Yun sees the dungeon is too weak right now and immediately sends his undead army to take down the boss. When that happens, the monster vanishes instantly, giving everyone safe room to flee. As soon as his undead minions crushed that evil boss, the whole dungeon began to shatter. The Chao brothers stepped forward with a warm smile, telling their younger friend that whatever trouble the Ding family might bring, they won't let it stop before the third head of the family died. He tells them to run away right away, while making sure anyone chasing them gets caught, because his boss wants more dungeon lords to defeat before they get too strong to beat Mirror World Level 3. He already upgraded so much that he's confident the next level will put him on par with or even above Ding Kuan. Later, when the door opened for a rich man at his secret dungeon gate, a guard shouted that no one would sneak inside, Yet Yun had already gone before it could even begin. The hero dug through the ruined dungeon, watching as rumors began to swirl that something deadly was waiting for him. Yin Xiaoyi's father asked himself whether he should tell the truth about his own son. You might fear that if the Ding family gets back into their old home, those past troubles will finally bring them together with you again. He realized Yin had cleared the dungeons so he could help the Chao family escape. As the Chao family retreated far from the Ding estate to escape danger, they finally felt a strange sense of relief when Ding Hao shattered the hideout wall with an impossible feat of agility. Immediately, he declared them treacherous, spurring on his warning that Yun's location had been revealed. He stood by the door of the hero's dungeon at level 42, his mirror world already polished to 3 levels and ready to face Ding Kuan, while Yun watched over him, wondering how all those private dungeons he had cleared down to around level 30 were actually too weak for real growth. The strongest dungeons, like that one, are kept secret from everyone because the state guards them tightly and no one can walk in less than 2 kilometers away. It's usually how our boy relies on his mirror skills, but those 2 meters aren't enough to dodge that kind of tight security guard. He instead turned his attention toward Yunsha so she could give him her help. She walks into the dark room, and Yunsha snaps his fingers, shouting, "What did you do there? You're coming with me." Oh dear, she admits she really can't even squeeze through the door without a proper pass. It was a quiet moment as our brave protagonist handed out the temporary passes that had slipped through his pocket while guarding the Ding family estate. She pointed out that every pass needs a companion to guide the holder through inspection, as she pressed him hard on his own desperation for entry. He told Yuna that while Ben's tragic ending was a tragedy, it wasn't enough for the whole world to know, so she helped the Chaos find out what really happened behind the scenes. Yuna decides he can't fight for his own family because his connection to the Chaos is too distant, so the only choice left is to let him go without making a fuss about it. She slammed her hand down on his chest, shouting, "You're lying? You stole those passes before you even knew I was watching." The girl tells the villain she led her crew into the enemy's dungeon to get back at him. But as they vanished, we find out her friends hold a secret feud against them. Growing curious, Yinsha asks if our son is actually a relative of that very name, which brings up a startling question. She laughs at his funny comment, and then says, "I guess I did too." The joke keeps spinning through the room, and Yin knows Yin won't let it go far enough. She thinks Yinsha is a truly good guy and a brave, selfless hero who would let go of his own safety just so people could live safely. He handed her that diary he stole from the Ding family because it showed off the terrible deeds of his children. Yin Sha stared at the man with wide eyes, his heart pounding because he knew the woman would never let anyone else touch her again. Yin Sha was flustered when his trusted friend insisted that no matter how many times he had been betrayed, it would never stop him from trusting others and confirm that her character was not evil. Yet Yin Sha couldn't help but feel flustered the same way whenever she accused him of something. The door slammed shut behind Yin Sha as she walked into the dark hallway where a mysterious figure waited for her. "We're here," the guard said warmly, his voice steady despite the shadows. Ding Di arrived alone while the hooded figure stood beside her, leaving him completely baffled when he saw no one else on his feet. The guard says security's tough because Ding said her temporary pass was stolen, so he insists she check her own guard himself. The moment Yunsha's hands hit Yun's face, a loud "ah" echoes from the hallway, and the guards instantly scramble back to their posts. She's been so cool that the guards didn't even have to pull away. Once inside, our protagonist suddenly finds that Yun Sha isn't just a big name on the map. His power is so much bigger than anyone could ever think about. She told him clearly that she would never step into his arms again. So when they finally reached the edge of the forest, a brave boy stepped forward and thanked her warmly before summoning a powerful undead in a cloak to protect them from whatever was coming next. As Yun Sha flies away into the sky, Yuna leaps onto a frozen mirror to see if she can still unlock her magic, ready to prove she is stronger than the enemy who came after. Yuna presses the button and instantly transforms into a level 3 mirror world where he effortlessly copies dangerous monsters from the outside, ready to use them for battle in this new world. He has a superpower that lets him copy creatures and farm them right inside mirrors, all while staying completely safe from anyone looking for his secrets. More than that, even when the mirror world ends, your hero's undead monsters still cling to him and keep grinding through the levels for him. The Ding family is building their own little city inside the hero's dark dungeon, setting up the perfect base right here so our brave boy can truly start his adventure deeper into the secret world. Yuna knew she had to dig deeper because the Ding family diary told her Ding Gun could be found, yet nobody in the story actually knows who this mysterious Ding Kuan is at all. She tells herself it's just a distant memory that Ding Kuan reached S rank decades ago and never showed his true power openly. In his old world, he had known every single rank, but the new one appeared without a ripple. Hoping for more insight, he tries to ask Binbin, but gets no answer at all. Realizing that talking is still a dead end, our hero remembers how, when the mirror world reached its new height, the intelligence of his undead creatures grew dramatically with Binbin's help, yet not enough to bridge the gap completely. Binbin might still have a little bit of hope left for the future, since his upgrades could finally bring him back to life again. Meanwhile, when Ding Dan yells at his father in the Dungeon City Castle, he accuses him of always favoring the third son, and according to the Security Bureau's report, that son remains missing. Ding Kuan stood tall in his royal armor, watching his son scream as he told him a criminal had finally hit S-rank level. He's got it now, Ding warned. You've got to act before he crushes everything else. Kung suddenly pierced his own arm while Dan laughed and mocked him for having a terrible memory of his own child. He mocks the old man so hard it hurts a little bit, then tells Dan, now you have to get out of my way because I'm going to burn him down. Kuan had a very strong warning about how much time losing a close blood relative could take away from your future. Outside the castle, the young hero Ding Yin, bound by his powerful belt to a mighty giant's back, watches silently from the shadows below. The boy Yin laughs at the scene where a human-wolf battle over food. Nan steps forward to announce the bizarre truth. Yan's furry friend still refuses to take a bite of any food for several days. And then they stood back out of sight, watching over the Ding family as if they were some kind of distant threat, while everyone else felt completely at ease in their own world. Binbin starts wrestling with the choice of revealing himself while trying to find a way to speak up. Yuna suddenly realized how much Binbin cared about helping others, even when they were still stuck here. Ben and Lanshin felt like brothers because they saved everyone who fell in the disaster zone, so he took them on as friends instead of teachers. No matter how hard he tries to hide the pain, he still knows he's made a terrible mistake and doesn't want anyone to see it like that anymore. After a few moments, Binbin begins mumbling his names to make us feel like we're waking up again with him back on the scene. Binbin shouts, Leon Chan is Ding Kuan, and Yuna gasps, while inside the castle. Ding Kuan rushes over to wipe off his son's splashes of blood, whispering the name he just said. He didn't expect to hear such a strange name back when all these years had passed. Yet now the mix of excitement and curiosity fuels his desire to find out exactly who is taking on his master. When Yin starts caring so much for his own ogres that they lose their minds and start starving, Yan's eyes flew wide as he screamed, pointing wildly at those doomed humans who stood before him with no escape, and then turned toward his army of ogres who had already begun to eat them up. A toddler is about to become an unstoppable danger, but as the disaster approaches, he leaps out of the way so quickly that the looming threat vanishes before it can even reach him. Yet, despite saving his life, Yin remains confused by the terrifying realization that Dingun isn't the villain he thought, it's actually Lion. Suddenly, he hides behind the assassins like a ghost in the dark to avoid being caught by anyone watching. Although Dingun's son was angry after discovering that two boys were the very same person, he remembered the old days when he told his disciples that the time for kings was over, yet he decided to carry on the legacy he once inherited as a knight. Under his gentle guidance, the students grew into strong individuals who could handle any challenge on their own. He taught them essential rules just in case they ever needed to go back to the basics. The beginning of the story started with a simple smile. Someone who knew how to be humble without losing their dignity, reminding everyone that they belong just like any other person and should keep being polite and kind after all. He scolded the boys for their rude comments, but instead of getting mad, he gave them skill books so they could learn and grow on their own. Back home, Yin and Nans are being scolded for having so much money and leaving their money with an assassin. Although Yin kept mocking him, he forced Yin to remember the second lesson and show his mercy for everything. He told people to treat those who were weak with kindness and use their love as a shield against harm. My old friend once helped two poor kids escape slavery by trusting them to let the seller talk about their struggles, even though he didn't know how many souls he could save at first glance. Now, as he hits on the traps of Yin and Nans, Yin proudly shouts that his own household must be hiding along with him too. Yin dives into battle by channeling his entire strength from a system he built, instantly summoning Mirror World so he could spot out there where Yin and Nans are hiding. He sprinted straight into the fight when they were finally found. In a fight where truth beats power, he remembers the hardest lesson: always defend your right to be brave. Yin saw his hero's power and pulled away, letting Nan stand alone by himself. Nans can't get Yin when he needs him most because he's not ready yet. Suddenly, our hero appeared right behind us and slammed down with a mighty blow before shooting out an amazing power. The fourth lesson comes to mind: the spirit of sacrifice. Meanwhile, Binbin drags Yin away, bringing him to his master. Although Yin shouts that he is the hero's grandson, He's left speechless when he sees his assassin transformed into a puppet of our protagonist. At this very moment, our boy remembers every last lesson on honesty, justice, honor, and soul. The truth is so deep it hurts to forget. After Yuna finally defeated Yin, she watches from the top of the castle wall as countless humans are chained up like prisoners, realizing that Lanchian has already given up his teachings and even turned his own sword against his master. Furious, the protagonist snaps and demands to understand exactly how Lanchian got so many of his children into that terrible situation. Suddenly, Chen steps in from the back and throws a devastating blow that sends Yin soaring through multiple walls before he catches up and heals him with his skills. Chen steps forward as our hero throws his mirrors at him and immediately goes on the offensive, forcing a direct battle where he demands to know why he betrayed us. A fierce clash sends Chen's plate flying apart, and he finally sees what the enemy has done to him. As our boy's trembling body made him realize the truth, he demanded a reason for Chun betraying his master. Yet Chun just said he knew his own old name. As Chun steps forward and hears the question echoing, he wonders aloud whether the master of theirs actually sent him. As Chun threw his attacks with such force that he barely missed me, I turned around and struck him from the back again, repeating my question after every blow. Chun stood up to slam the floor right in front of him, ripping it into pieces with an angry roar. Our hero has a good feeling that something might be right for the moment, so he decides to send Bimba up next. He jerks Kin's body right up from the floor, stunned by how far it still stretches away, then slowly pulls back to see a familiar ghostly hand grabbing his throat as he screams that he's not dead anymore. Little intelligence stays even when people rise back from the dead. At the very last second, Qian's 3 brave sons burst into the room and seized their father as a shield against the storm outside. When the boy answered, he called upon his undead army, including Dingui as one of them. Chan's eyes darted toward the window at first, and suddenly a rush of adrenaline flooded through him before the feeling of love faded away completely. Chun presses Chun back hard, so the fight isn't over before anyone else can see. Yin lifts his MP and raises his attack power, remembering how Chan used to hold the world in a cage. Suddenly, Chan bursts out laughing, saying that all what he has turned into is just because of his master. Our hero reminds Chan that he saved Ben from slavery and taught him how to be a great professional. But Chan doesn't feel grateful. Instead, he grumbles about being rescued so late and wonders why, as just the son of night, Ben can't live like his master did. He shouts angrily at Ben, who actually did nothing for enjoying such special favor. Perhaps Chan suggests bitterly, because Ben was born clean, Teen murmurs, wondering how his timid nature forced him to become a berserker. Chun watched his character deny all favorites again, clearly trying hard to stay brave even when they weren't chosen. Chun feels vindictive and bitter because his master seems to love someone else entirely. He admits he once stood tall like a warrior, yet never caught the eye of a superior, for his master always saw him as someone who came from below. Qian admits he can't be a knight because his life depends on status rather than moral virtue. So saving people isn't worth anything to him, and he insists there's never any betrayal involved. He picked Benbin because his family had chosen another way, making it clear that Benbin stands apart from his lineage. A mocking laugh shakes the room as he points out where Master and Louis are right now. Furious, our boy launches a barrage of mirrors to hit every single direction. As his armor crumbles in a blaze of white smoke, Yin throws a cold, icy glare at Ben, declaring that he is truly not even worthy of their toes. Qian's armor shatters completely, yet he bursts into a loud, amused laugh. Just then, his attack power surges to 3,000 times normal, and his speed becomes 2,000 times faster. He lunged for Yun with a grin, mocking her as an hypocrite, and the rage of his berserk move exploded instantly, making Chase's speed so fast it felt like she couldn't even run after him, forcing her little boy to duck into the mirror world just in time. The sky turns black when Chen's deadly strike hits, but suddenly his hero jumps back in from nowhere. He looks around and sees the ground is full of mirrors. He thinks, oh no, I'm going crazy. He grabs a mirror from the wall and tries to use it as a weapon instead of just hiding behind it. Chen lets out a roar as he throws a massive wave of blood from his berserker skill, intending to tear apart every mirror blocking the way and stop our boy from getting away. The bloodstorm is tearing through the battlefield, and our hero's health bar is plummeting fast. Then Shin activates Berserker's body and sneers, thinking his master only cares about virtue when the fight is over. As soon as the gun was ready, he laughed at the hero who had been teaching us that kindness matters more than comfort. Chun slams Yun's hard against the wreckage, dropping him so low he falls even further before Shuren laughs, pointing at how nothing else will save the kid anymore. Even though Yun fell into a deep setback, he quickly used simple healing to snap himself back upright and threw an attack toward Chien, who countered effortlessly. Meanwhile, Qin laughed at how Yun's master had become so fragile before him, then pressed his sword home hard. Our brave hero swings his second blade, but in the dark hall where Qin stands guard, he pauses to explain that true growth comes from letting others grow without betraying them, not fighting for himself alone. Qin asked to see how the hero dealt with that tough old guy after he finally got his first sword back. The man tried hard but still couldn't shake his jealousy toward the new king. The final taunt echoes as Chun slams Yin down hard onto the rubble, dropping our boys' life points right on their feet. It felt like Chun was finally ready to crush his master in a single move after all this time. He offers a twisted mercy by inviting Yin to kneel as his loyal pet, yet he demands they discover the secret that grants eternal life. Chun was shocked when his hero climbed out of bed with a sword drawn, screaming that he had made such a terrible mistake by saving only one man instead of everyone trapped in a prison cell. As that moment arrived, he leveled up to restore himself completely and stun Chun, while the undead army kept farming monsters in the mirror world, slowly raising his own experience level along the way. He whips his units toward the wall with a burst of speed and pulls out a magical device that boosts their velocity 3 times while simultaneously granting them new abilities that push their stats even higher. Yin claims that his ability to draw on the chance learned across all dungeons isn't enough for a fight against Chun. He has no need of virtue either. He stepped forward with an unshakable resolve, ready to clear whatever chaos the situation had left behind. Chun giggles as he watches a master swing a pair of swords across the battlefield without any intention behind them. When a shadow strikes down to crush the hero, Yun shatters into smoke before snapping back from behind him and delivering a devastating blow. Qian froze in horror as his mind raced back to the last mirror he saw. But when suddenly a splash of dark blood appeared on the floor, he quickly realized it wasn't just an accident. It meant he could now move through anything. Chun grabs hold of the living light as he sees that nothing can stop the darkness rising. So he pulls back with a roar and unleashes a wave of undead creatures to wipe out everyone in the room. Chun finds his world utterly empty and life impossible to escape.